Hi everyone, Erica Hanna here, and today we are going to talk about prompt engineering. By the end of the class today, you're going to learn a few things. One, what the heck is prompt engineering, and why do good prompts actually matter? Two, we're going to talk about cooking up some good prompts, a little method, a little acronym to help you remember what goes into a good prompt in the first place. And three, we're going to get a little efficient with our prompts. We're going to talk about different kinds of prompts that you can use in different situations. So let's not wait. Let's dive right in. First of all, let's talk a little bit about AI really fast. AI can be scary for some people, but really it shouldn't be. I know that a lot of people think that AI is some robot that's about ready to take over the world, and that's just not true. AI is also not new. It's been around since the 1950s. It's also not a fancy Google, right? So Google is a search engine where you're retrieving static information. And when you're working with something like ChatGPT or AI that is a language model, it means that you're actually ideating with it. It's helping you. The information is constantly evolving and personalized to you. And that's pretty darn cool. Why do people sometimes think that AI is scary? Okay, a few reasons. One, it has the word artificial in it. Think about it. We have been taught our entire lives to fear the word artificial, right? Artificial flavorings and all that kind of stuff. And another reason would be science fiction movies, like The Terminator. I think we've all seen those movies where, like I said, robots take over the world. Not happening. Also, I do find that people out there explaining AI seem to be kind of so smart sometimes that they forget how to speak human. So we're going to actually keep things conversational for you today. And also fear-mongering when it comes to jobs. I promise not every single person's job is in jeopardy by this. Yes, our jobs are going to evolve just in the same way that they evolved with other big inventions like the internet, right? It is helping us. It's great. AI is basically a tool. We can choose to use it or let people that are using it do their jobs more efficiently than we are. So it's kind of either dive in or get left behind, right? So first of all, do you even know what prompt engineering is? Anybody? Prompt engineering, basically, this is the definition of it. The iterative process of designing, refining, and optimizing input queries for natural language processing, NLP models, particularly large language models, LLMs, to elicit desired inputs. What? What does that even mean, right? It sounds like a robot just spit out that definition. So let me simplify it for you, okay? What it actually means is asking AI a question or for help in a way that won't yield garbage results. That is what prompt engineering actually is. All right? So don't let all those fancy terms throw you off. I am going to be using a few terms today, though, that you'll want to remember. One is LLM. It's a large language model. That's a fancy way of saying some kind of AI that you speak to, like ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot. So just remember that whenever I reference an LLM. So why is prompt engineering actually important? And knowing how to do it well, why is that important? Because good prompts can actually save you time and money, right? Because time is money. So when we're working on content, when we're working on problem solving, it's really nice to be able to speak to AI in a way that it's going to understand right away so that you don't have to go back and forth a million times before you get to where you want to go. I know that can be frustrating in any kind of conversation, right? This is a conversation that you're having with AI. And in the same way that if you don't know how to speak to a specific coworker about something, if you're trying to speak to AI about something, that it's just not grasping, it's going to take a lot longer in that process for you to get there. All right. So how is prompt engineering different than Googling? I touched on this a little bit, but Google retrieves static information from the web. So it's basically just asking a question. It's going to give you the answer. Boom, that's the fact. That's where it is. Or this is how you can find it. Right? When you are actually doing prompt engineering, you are having an ongoing conversation with context personalized to you, and it's going to track your previous questions, especially if you have a paid version of these models. It will track what they call memories when you are talking to it. It can also help you solve complex problems. It's pretty wild out there. So here's an example of a prompt that, I've seen people use. Prompt, write me a marketing plan. No. This is garbage. And I'm going to tell you why it's garbage. You would never ask this of a new hire, right? You would never ask somebody that you just hired, hey, write me a marketing plan, without any context of your business, without any context of your branding, your logos, the history of the company. That just wouldn't happen. So you need to remember when you are doing prompt engineering, there has to be some context with it. Basically, what I'm saying is garbage in, garbage out. What are some mistakes that people make at the beginning when they're starting to use prompts? Well, Google says beginners only use about 9 words in their prompts. That's less than a sentence, right? So that's not enough context or help for the LLM, large language model, to know what to actually do. Google actually encourages people to use at least 21 words. So that's, 2 sentences or more. So here's a framework. Time to learn. Are you ready? So what makes a good prompt? I always think of chef. Yes, chef. So chef is actually going to be an acronym that stands for context, help me to, an example, and the format. Okay, so context, help me to, example, and the format. For you visual learners, here's another look at that with some iconography. Context, help me with, example, and format. Here's an example of using that. So context, I run a video production company, Puke Rainbows, focused on working with change makers, primarily small to medium-sized businesses and nonprofits. Our mission is to empower clients to tell impactful stories through video and AI, aiming to make a difference in the world. Right now, we're seeking to grow our Instagram following to connect with more small business owners interested in our services. Okay, for context, with the context, just so you know, when you're using something like ChatGPT, it will store, if you are using the paid version, it will store details about your business. So if you would go in and upload all of this information and remind it that it already knows about your business, you wouldn't have to say this every single time. But a little reminder every few times you use it doesn't hurt because you're training it to keep thinking like you or an employee. The H, help me with. Please create a marketing plan specifically tailored to increasing engagement and following count on Instagram. Notice that I got really specific there. I talked about the platform that I want to speak to. I talked about increasing engagement. Like that's what I want my plan to do. Example, the plan should include 3 distinct engagement strategies designed to target small business owners. Examples of strategies could include interactive content ideas, collaborations with influencers in the social impact space, or any data-driven approaches you recommend for my industry. Format. I would like each strategy to be clearly outlined in 3 to 4 bullet points. Each should include the following: description of the strategy, steps to implement it, and expected outcomes or engagement metrics to watch for. Under format, you can also talk about literally different file formats. So you could ask for a CSV file, you could ask for a PDF or a Word or Google Doc, something like that. Basically, however you like to consume information, teach it that. I don't like seeing, personally, huge blocks of text. That's why I specified that I wanted all that information to come in bullet point form. Let's step through those individual steps just a little bit. So, the chef method. Context. What types of things do you include when it comes to context? Business details. Who are you? Who is your company? When you're in the help me with stage, you basically are spelling out what you need or want. When it's an example, tell it a little story. We all learn through storytelling and examples. And when it comes to format, just like I said, bullet points, a list, a CSV document, a PDF. Lots of ways to get your information. Let's step through that example again. Context. I'm uploading information about my company, Puke Rainbows, and would like you to take on the role of a very forward-thinking CMO who embraces social media trends. Please come up with 5 ideas for clients to engage with us directly via social media, specifically on Instagram. One example of engagement would be a poll about their favorite kind of story. I would like the 5 ideas to be listed with 3 bullet points about what makes each of them effective. And there's the result. Notice that it's laid out exactly how I wanted it to be. Here's a quick reminder. Your prompt does not need to be perfect to be effective. Again, your prompt doesn't have to be perfect to be effective. You can refine it. You can keep asking questions. It is a conversation. So what happens if you don't like the result you get from your prompt? 1, hit the regenerate button. 2, remember, you're talking to it like a coworker. Tell it what you like or don't like. Say, hey, ChatGPT, this is garbage. I don't like the tone of this. Please rewrite it in a more conversational way. Also, something to keep in mind, sometimes these large language models like to write in a way that is overly academic. So if you have marketing material that you're working on through these large language models like ChatGPT or Copilot, make sure to tell it that it should write at a 5th grade reading level. That's going to make sure that things are conversational and easy to understand off the get-go. Now, let's take a look at a couple different prompting patterns. Don't let those big words intimidate you. A prompt pattern is just basically a fancy name for saying how you're going to ask it the question, right? It's a specific way to ask the question. Some of the prompt patterns that we're going to go over will be question refinement, audience persona, flipped interaction, and my favorite, the meta pattern. All right. The question refinement pattern. This one's going to help ChatGPT or another LLM teach you how to prompt better. Yeah, that's right. The AI can actually teach you how to prompt better. So this is a great one to use at the beginning when you're just starting with AI. For example, you're going to say, from now on, whenever I ask a question, suggest a better version of the question to use instead. You can also add on, prompt me and ask if I would like to use the better version instead. That would look like this. How can we improve customer satisfaction? That's my original prompt, right? But I've given it the instructions to correct me. And now it's going to pop up and say, your original was, how can we improve customer satisfaction? Now it'll give me a suggested version of the prompt. What specific strategies can we implement to enhance customer satisfaction and foster long-term loyalty? And now it tells you why it's a better prompt. So that's pretty cool. It says this version adds focus on actionable steps and long-term outcomes. Absolutely. Our next pattern, the audience persona pattern. This helps ChatGPT speak to you in a way that makes sense for you or for your audience. So basically, you're going to say, explain X to me. Assume that I am person Y. So for me, explain how insurance works. Assume I am a 3rd grade child, since insurance is not my strong suit. You could also have a little fun with this and say, hey, explain how insurance works. Assume I'm a fish, speak like a pirate, and limit it to 3 sentences. Because, we might as well have a little fun while we're doing it, right? In all seriousness, I do find this really helpful, especially when there are things that I don't understand. And even when I'm looking at an explanation for it, sometimes our brains just kind of short circuit and we need it really broken down for us. So every once in a while, I'll say, explain it to me like I'm an 8th grader. And then I'll have to say, explain it to me like I'm a 3rd grader. Okay, maybe like I'm a kindergartner, then I'll actually understand. Happens to the best of us, right? Another way to use this would be to put yourself in the place of the person that you're talking to. So if you educate ChatGPT on who your clients are or who the pool members are and what type of thing they're looking for, then say, explain this to me in the best way for that person to understand, right? So if you give it a customer avatar, then it can tailor the response so that person's going to really understand it and give it the proper context. Flipped interaction pattern. This is one of my favorites. Basically, you're going to have ChatGPT or whatever language model you're using do all the work for you. You're going to have it interview you to get the information it needs to answer your question. Here's an example. I would like you to ask me questions to achieve X. You should ask questions until condition Y is met or to achieve this goal. Ask me questions one at a time, starting now. This is really great when you're not sure where to start with how AI could help you with something. Flipped interaction pattern can be great for these type of examples. Job descriptions, 100% job descriptions. Employee feedback, a marketing strategy, product design, content ideation, process improvement, sales pitch testing, decision-making, and goal setting. You can also use ChatGPT for personal things too, right? So goal setting is great, whether or not you're doing it in your personal life or your business life. Let's apply this to a job description. We would say something to the effect of, I would like you to ask me questions to write a job description for a new communications manager role I'm going to be posting about soon. Please ask questions until you have enough information to write this job description. Make sure it's specific to our organization. Ask me the questions one at a time, starting now. And this is the result. If you find something in that job description that you don't agree with, feel free to give it feedback. The more feedback you're giving your large language model, the more accurate it's going to become. Now, are you not sure where to start when it comes to using AI and prompting in your everyday life at work? Then ask it. That's called a meta prompt pattern. It helps the AI tell you how to use it best. Yeah, it's going to educate you. Pretty cool, huh? So you would say something like, I need to do this thing. How can you/AI best help me do that? Or how can AI help me accomplish this task or strategy? I did this the other day, and here's what it looked like. I am a small business owner and a public speaker. I know you have some existing memory of my business. This is a good reminder. Don't forget, reminding the LLM who you are enforces what it should be thinking about. But I want to make sure I'm using AI to the best of my ability. Interview me one question at a time. Then when you have enough information, make a recommendation for how you could help me with my business. This was the amazing response. Listen, I'm an AI expert, and it still came up with ways that I could use it that I hadn't thought of. So other prompting things to keep in mind are some phrases that you can integrate into your prompts to make them more accurate. For example, give me 3 templates to choose from, or give me 3 options to choose from. The more options you have, the more you can teach it how you want to use it and what the best decision is for your company. You could also say, using the blank framework, give me. So, for example, if you're doing goal setting, you could say something to the effect of, using the SMART goals framework, give me a solution for this. You could also ask it to act as an expert. Act as an expert CEO, CMO, social media strategist, whatever it is, and devise a strategy for X. You can also use it to work out bugs. So draft a bug report workflow for X. And here's another example. As an SEO and conversion rate optimization specialist, someone who's dealing with search engine optimization, which can be really complicated, review and optimize this website copy for your company's name, focusing on the relevant pages. Since insurance pooling is such a specific industry, this is where I want you to remember to place into these prompt ideas any scenario that you are in, that the large language model might not be educated on. It's really easy to forget that it doesn't have context for what you do every day. And uploading that and talking about it is really important. Also remember, AI and ChatGPT will probably gaslight you at some point. Sometimes I have it say to me, I am not able to make a CSV file. And I have to come back and say, listen, you just made a CSV file for me yesterday. I know that you can make a CSV file. Then it'll come back and say, oh yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I can do that. That's a hallucination of sorts, right? When it is confused and not sure what it's doing. Now, let's look at a prompt specifically for research. I recommend using a top-down approach when it comes to prompting and research. So you would start with the broad prompt and then narrow down as you go. For instance, you would say, provide an overview of X industry, including market trends, regulations, and key competitors. Then the expanded prompt would be, provide an in-depth analysis of the competitors we just identified in this industry, include their strategies and target audiences. Then a personal prompt. I am the marketing manager at X company, which is a competitor of these other companies. Provide insights on how my company can get a competitive advantage. When it comes to research and using prompts, a great tool would be Perplexity AI. It's basically like ChatGPT and Google had a baby, plus they sort all the sources for you. If you're looking for a prompt library, you can also check out GPT Bot. You can look at suggested frameworks and prompts that have been successful in the past. All right, how about a little quick review? First, when it comes to prompt engineering, it's just a fancy way of saying you're asking AI the right question in the right way. 2, let's talk about a really effective method if you're starting from scratch on your prompt, the chef method. Context, help me with, here's an example, and I want it in this format, chef. We talked about a bunch of prompt patterns, question refinement, audience persona, flipped interaction, meta, and then we also talked about researching with prompts. Thanks for joining me today. It was really great hanging out with you and talking about prompt engineering. Now, go ahead and dive in. I know it can be scary at first, but you are smart and I know you're going to catch on fast. If we can have a conversation, you can prompt engineer. Good luck.